Hello and welcome to another episode of the AutoTrader Podcast. My name is Wandile Sishi.
I'm George Mienie.
And we got a super interesting show for you guys today. But before we get into that, George, did you see the hail that happened this past week?
I was in Cape Town.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I missed it.
Yeah. You didn't miss much. Well, you missed a lot, technically speaking.
No, one of our colleagues sent me a picture of flipping a hailstone the size of his hand almost.
Yeah, yeah. It was absolutely horrendous. So I stay in a section of Joburg which didn't rain. But I have some friends who are staying in Midrand and their cars are completely destroyed. I wonder what the worst hailstorm has been. And what is, for insurance companies, it's probably just a nightmare. It's probably the worst time of the year when...
This time of the year is the worst time of the year. Yeah. October, November, probably 2013.
Was that a particularly super rainy
I remember
season?
because all my bathroom windows were smashed.
Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah.
2013. I wasn't at home.
Yeah.
I had gone up to...
It seems like you never
Bella
home when
Bella
these things
area.
happen, yeah.
Yeah. And I heard about this hailstorm and I was like, oh, okay, lucky I dodged it. And when I got back home, every bathroom window was smashed.
Jeez.
Holes in it.
Did you know before? So wait, when you got back, was it a day later or was it
No, when I walked in the house.
Just
there
everything
was glass
destroyed.
everywhere. And
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've never experienced massive hail and been...
Well, I was living in a townhouse then, so...
Yeah. What do you do in terms of... Do you have to get cover for... I'm not too sure if I have cover, hail cover.
Acts of God.
Acts of God. Does that count as acts of God?
I think most insurance policies have...
some sort of cover
for mishaps like that.
Yeah. My one friend, he had a special paint on his car and it got...
Special.
It's not a paint that's typical, I guess.
Did he get his car resprayed?
No, it's an OEM paint. It's just a very specific one.
It was an optional extra.
Yeah. And it took them 6 months to repaint it. So, yeah. Hopefully you weren't part of that, but if you were part of the hail, it'll be interesting to see some videos. I've seen some really interesting videos and crazy things from what people went through.
I believe it was pretty bad.
Yeah, it was horrendous. Anyways, moving on. So I don't know if you've noticed on the news, there's been a lot of stories and a lot of conversation around repossessions recently. So I was having a fat conversation.
Well, it doesn't surprise me in the economic times we find ourselves in. It's very difficult to swallow the interest rate increases that we've had.
Yeah.
I mean, we've gone from, I think it's 7.5% or something.
Yeah, I think seeing 8.7.
Yeah, 8.8, but maybe mid 8%.
Yeah.
To what now? 11.75.
Yeah.
That's been the rise. Now, if you think about that in terms of the repayment on a car,
yeah,
that's huge.
I think people are paying on average about 2,000 Rand more. I saw an article about it, which is a lot of money. It's a lot of money that you didn't initially had intended for. So you're saying that this will definitely, because of the economic climate, more repossessions is just it's always going to happen. So it's going to follow suit.
Well, remember, interest rates are used by the Reserve Bank.
Yeah.
To curb inflation.
Yeah.
To stop us from getting into a high inflationary environment. How does it curb inflation? It stops the consumer from spending.
Yeah. It's like a
deterrent.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what it is. But quite often it's a little bit of a blunt instrument. The reason is because interest rate increases are usually after the fact.
Yeah.
So so
you already bought the assets.
No, the monetary policy people see, exactly. So the monetary policy people see the spending and see the inflation start rising.
Mm-hmm.
Then they apply interest rate rises.
But you've already bought the car or the house or whatever.
But the problems already started to occur.
Okay.
So now you double penalizing for a problem that's already systemic.
Yeah.
Okay. So now people have to backtrack you have to unspend,
Yeah.
which is not
It's not
easy
really-
to do.
Especially if you've locked yourself into like
yes.
a finance.
But it's unfortunately the only mechanism,
yeah.
because humans, by their very nature,
We like things.
yeah, if you can get it today and not have to wait and save up for it, you'll get it today.
Yeah.
You'll use the mechanisms at your disposal. Nothing wrong with that, but it does make for problem times. I can't hear anything.
Did you lose your?
I lost my headphones.
I can totally hear you.
So in a high interest rate environment, it's often levied too late.
Yeah.
But it's the only mechanism that the reserve has in order to curb inflation, because it will correct.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
as
sure.
you can see, there's repossessions happening. I mean, I'm not saying repossessions are the right thing,
Yeah.
but it does cause a correction.
So I think maybe we have a few articles on site actually that talk about how to prevent them. So I'm just going to walk through some of them, and then maybe you can give us some insight with regards to how to kind of go about that. But out of curiosity, before we get into those things, if your car gets repossessed, can you buy it back? Out of curiosity.
You buy it back from the bank
Yeah.
for as long as they haven't sold it.
Yeah.
Of course, you probably will be able to.
Okay. So they won't be like, no.
I mean, I don't know this de
you've been
facto,
too
but
naughty, yeah.
the bank's not in the business of owning cars,
Yeah, for sure.
so they don't want that car.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that, but
Like if
bank-
it's still in the process of like, let's say they repossess my car this week, and then next week I don't know, win the lotto or something. Can I just be like, here's your money?
go buy a different
back.
car. But yeah,
Don't buy a car. That
go
goes
into
through
AutoTrader, go buy a car.
Yeah.
I would imagine if you approach the bank and they're not too far down the process, you might be able to get your car back. But I suppose it depends on the bank's rules.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to probably pay to do that.
Yeah, yeah. I can't see you winning in that scenario anyways. I mean, the bank's already lost, so I mean, you've lost your car.
Yeah, the bank's going to go and auction your car off.
So one of the things that's been spotlighted
It's really not efficient for the bank to go fetch your car. They don't want to do it.
And they'll never make the same, like the value of the vehicle is never going to be the same.
They will do it, but they don't want to do it.
Yeah, 100%. So there's a few things that you can do, which we've kind of spotlighted. I mean, if you're in this position where your car's being repossessed, one of the first things that the banks always say is have the open conversation with the bank before it even gets to that point. I think it's the very last thing that a bank wants to do, or your finance house wants to do, is actually get to that stage. Because, like you're saying, it's super, like it's a tedious process.
It is. I mean, I always say, pay for the roof over your head first.
Mm-hmm.
Pay for your transport. Pay for your food. Everything else is secondary to those three things.
100%. I agree with that.
Anything else is secondary. Because, and in a difficult interest rate environment like this, anticipate. Because as a consumer, you should be able to see your problem coming. You can't tell me it comes upon you in 1 month.
What is your rule of thumb when it comes to somebody who's going to be, because like you're saying, it's an after the fact situation, right? When
It's it's a blunt instrument that's used after the fact by the federal government, or not federal government, that's America, but by the monetary,
Reserve Bank.
The Reserve Bank, yeah.
So, like, how much kind of, I guess, how much should a person budget then if they're going to take this into account? What do you think is the safest amounts? Because I think affordability, we've spoken about this at length, but how do you know and how do you make sure that you don't get in a position where your car could potentially be repossessed?
Okay, so nothing in life is a sure thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero. Your job's not a sure thing.
Yeah.
The economic environment's not a sure thing. Even investment is not a sure thing. If anybody thinks that that's a sure thing, you're going to get burnt. Somewhere down the line, you're going to get burnt. So it's a matter of not being an ostrich as a consumer. Keeping your finger on the pulse of the economic landscape that you find yourself operating in.
Yeah.
As a consumer. It doesn't matter what your job is. You don't have to be a business owner. You're still part of this economy.
You can make millions and still like spend badly, essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
you can make millions and probably be worse than the person that makes hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I make R1 million a month but I spend R1 million a month, I'm poorer than the person that makes 100,000 Rand a month and spends 50.
So it's just really about understanding your economic climate. It's one thing to understand the economic climate,
but how do you operate
also
within that?
Exactly that.
Yeah. And if you understand the wider economic climate, you get the news reports of monetary committee is sitting. Chances are they're going to increase interest rates. Now you go and you do a calculation. Right, got this house, got this car. What if interest rates go up by 1%? How does it affect my cash flow?
Yeah.
What if I don't get that salary increase? How does it affect my cash flow? And constantly do that every 3 months. Reevaluate your economic situation. And then if you find yourself having to sell that beautiful GTI, rather sell it than get it repossessed.
100%. So that's one of the things that we have actually stipulated, the things to do if you're in that position. So selling your vehicles, you're saying, is after exhausting all other options, that's kind of the last thing.
Selling it.
Yeah, selling the vehicle.
Should be the first thing.
Should be the first thing.
Yes.
I mean, there's other things you can do before that.
Like
readjusting all your expenses.
Remember the priorities.
Yeah, okay. If we're looking at the roof.
Yes.
Okay.
Roof over your head. Do you need to move?
Yeah.
Move early. It's the biggest expense.
Mm.
If you need to sell your car, sell it early. It's the second biggest expense.
Mm.
If you need to adjust how you consume food, that's easy because that happens day to day.
Yeah, 100%.
Changing house, changing car, difficult thing.
That one is difficult for me.
So
changing what I eat. Yeah. I love my chicken. I do it like twice a week. I don't know if I can do that.
Well, you know, we can all shop smarter, I guess.
100%.
But readjust the way you think about the length of time it takes to change.
Mm.
Changing your spending habits at a consumer clothing food level, that's easy. That's binary. You can do that tomorrow.
Mm.
But it's not going to move the needle as much as selling your car or selling your houses.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not going to move the needle.
100%. So the things that banks can do in terms of, I mean, we all have rights, right? So a bank can't just decide one day, I'm just going to go and fetch this car. There's a process that has to...
Like everything in life, there's a process.
Exactly. So there are 4 steps that happen before that's the case. Essentially, they send you a letter to inform you that you have, that you've in arrears of X amount of days.
Yeah.
At which point you'll be called or summoned to a sheriff. A judgment's made.
Summoned to a sheriff. Now I don't know if it's summoned to a sheriff. A sheriff is summoned to you, but they essentially have to give you a demand letter. That's what it's called. Letter of demand. Yeah. So they've got to give you a letter of demand, right? Give you a certain amount of days to settle the arrears.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that letter of demand, explain what the consequence could be. Consequences, we're going to repossess your car, ultimately.
Yeah.
And so that's the start of the process, is the letter of demand.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it takes a few days, essentially, and there are a few steps that have to happen before they can just come in and repossess your vehicle. So if you're in that position, you know, I think it's on you to kind of figure what that is and make sure that the law is still...
I think in the repossession process of the bank,
yeah,
it's not unrealistic that you'd be able to sell your car within that period. Okay, it's too late still. Like you're going to take a burn on the car, but you can, when you get that letter of demand and you think to yourself, oh, I actually can't afford this car, you still have time to sell it, because they have to follow their process, and that process takes time. And in that time, you can list it on AutoTrader, sell it to your cousin.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do in order to readjust your income, or your expenses, should I say.
100%. But if you want more information, there are, like I said, a few articles on sites if you want to check that out. Yeah, lots of insight there. Still on the topic, I wanted to find out what is your opinion on buying repossessed vehicles.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a repossessed vehicle. I mean, remember, it's owned by a consumer,
yeah.
And most second-hand vehicles have been owned by a consumer before you buy it.
Would you say that it's... I think buying a repossessed car, there's a lot of benefits, but is there any risks in somebody doing that. It's going to an auction, for instance, and specifically, let's do a bank auction for specifically repossessed vehicles.
Yeah, I mean the difference between it's the same as buying a car privately.
What, buying it through a bank auction?
Yes.
Okay.
It's exactly the same. So there's either buying from a dealer or not buying from a dealer. This fits into not buying from a dealer.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where you buy it as is. You buy it the way you see it. If you don't identify a problem, that's on you.
In that scenario, are you allowed to go and check if the vehicle is, road legal? Like, the bank is probably not going to sell you a car that's like, this can't be on the streets anymore.
Bank doesn't know.
Okay, so they don't even go into that process.
They don't know. They're not in the business of operating a dealership.
Yeah.
That's why it's always safer to buy from a dealership. You might think that dealerships are out to get you, but the vast majority of them are not. There are some of those that are underhanded and don't do the right things, but the vast majority of dealerships are actually there for the consumer. There are laws that they have to abide by. So buying a car anywhere that's not a dealership. And I'm talking about a dealership that reconditions cars.
Yeah.
You're taking a risk. And you got to view that risk in terms of the price. Are you getting a significant discount to take that risk? So if a car is retailing for, say, 200,000 Rand.
Yeah. And it's
in the general market, look on AutoTrader. We've got a valuation platform. If it's generally retailing for 200,000 Rand and you can get that car at an auction or privately for 160,000 Rand. So you got 40,000 Rand that you are getting as a discount because you're taking the risk.
Yeah.
Right? You got to ask yourself, okay, what can go wrong with this car? And does it fit into that discount?
Buying from an auction house versus buying a repossessed vehicle from a bank.
I don't think there's a difference.
No difference at all. Okay, you knew exactly where I was going with that. So you think there's no difference there? There's just basically the seller is different, ultimately.
Ultimately, it's always a consumer that's having sold that car. It's the process that the car goes through that's different. In a dealership, the car goes through a reconditioning process most of the time.
100%.
And the dealer has the 3 R's that they have to abide by in terms of the CPA, which is replace, repair, or a refund. So whereas you buy from another consumer, footstoots.
Let's see what happens. I think the market's going to have to obviously change before we see these repossessions stop. But for now, I think we'll just...
Well, the economic environment has changed.
Exactly.
And the way the economic environment changes is it forces people not to spend.
Let's see what happens. South Africans love cars, though, so we'll see. So we're actually ending the season very shortly, and I think we have 2 races left. At the time of us recording this, at least, there's 2 races left. Las Vegas and Abu Dhabi. Do you want to give us a summary of the season thus far? Your summary, what are you expecting in Las Vegas?
Outside of Verkrashen, which is no longer Verkrashen. Outside of Verkrashen, I think Perez. He's number 2. Hamilton didn't pass him.
Not yet.
No. So I think Perez is likely going to win number 2.
Yeah, me too.
I think he's likely going to win number 2 spot. I think he's thrown a bunch of points away that he could have had because of his own demeanor. Hamilton's done better than I expected.
Yeah, me too, jeez.
I
hate to admit it, but yeah.
I kind of liked Hamilton this year. I think this non-winning streak of his has humbled him and made him kind of retract into a professional shell.
I don't know. I don't think he's changed that much. I think your demeanor is always gonna change when you're losing. And they say that as soon as you start winning, that's when people start
picking on you.
Yeah.
So I you know what I think it is. I think I like the way he's handled his losses.
Yeah, that's true.
And that for me is the difference. I always picked on Hamilton.
Yeah.
But I like the way he's handled his losses.
Yeah.
Verstappen didn't handle his losses as well as Hamilton's handled it.
I think it's easy when you have 5, though. It's easier than when you still.
Well, luckily he was at 5 back to back.
So he did
3 and 2, I think.
Yeah, no, he did the first one. There was a 1 year gap, and then I think he got 3. Then Nico won,
Yes.
and then before Nico it was the Red Bull run of Vettel, and then Alonso. There was a few in between, a few other winners in between, but I think he got 2 back to back.
Yeah, so I don't think I think that the procession is going to be Verstappen, Perez. Then I think it's going to be a battle between Lando Norris
and Hammer
and Hammer time, at Las Vegas.
Let's see what happens in Las Vegas. I'm not really a fan of the track. I think it's going to be another.
Why? Isn't it a street track?
Yeah, I love street tracks, but in terms of the layout of the track, I think it's going to not be our best. I think the Red Bulls are going to just run away with it.
Yeah, but you just got to let them run away and then have your own race.
Have your little bit of a race, yeah. I think there's going to be accidents, though. That's for sure what's going to be. And it's going to be a show. This might be the coolest one that we see, but in terms of racing, I don't know. I don't think it's going to, to be around. But
and then it's Abu Dhabi time.
What about next year? Next year, are you still sticking to?
I'm sticking to. No, I supported Lando Norris this year. I supported Alonso. I even supported Hamilton in some races.
That's crazy.
So I don't know. Remains to be seen. We'll see what I like Formula One total. Yeah. So
that's me. That's me right now. Anyways, thank you very much, George. That's pretty much all the time we have for today, and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Ciao.
Search AutoTrader.